Some say villains or heroes are made. Others say that they are born. But in reality, everything is different for every individual. The circumstances of their upbringing can change everything. Not always, though. Inside a sleek, modern office building, tension filled the air. Harsh voices bounced off the polished walls of the conference room as a group of employees argued over a failed task for a major client. Accusations flew back and forth, but it wasn't long before all fingers pointed at a silent worker seated at his desk nearby. Adam sat there, his posture calm, his fingers tapping methodically on his keyboard. He didn't bother to defend himself as his name came up repeatedly. His dark eyes flicked toward the group, betraying a flicker of disappointment before he returned his focus to his work. "Why aren't you saying anything?" Ollie, his closest friend in the office, whispered urgently as he crouched beside Adam's desk. Adam sighed, gathering his belongings with deliberate slowness. "Why should I?" he replied, his voice steady but resigned. "This place is toxic. Staying here brings no benefits, and honestly, I'm too lazy to argue with people who've already made up their minds." Ollie stared at him in disbelief. "Adam, they're firing you. You're just going to let them win." Adam slung his bag over his shoulder and gave a small shrug. "Why should I waste my energy fighting a battle I can't win? The world only cares about the powerful, the rich, the famous. People like me? Immigrants with no connections, no power, we don't stand a chance." His words hung in the air like a heavy weight. "But they're wrong," Ollie pressed, his voice tinged with desperation. "You didn't do anything." Adam met his friend's gaze briefly, a faint smile playing on his lips, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Doesn't matter. The moment they decided to blame me, it was over." Without another word, he turned and walked away. He could feel sympathetic gazes from some of the other workers, but he ignored them. Sympathy wouldn't pay his bills. Adam was a young black man of Senegalese ethnicity, born in Dakar. His family had moved to Italy when he was just 3 years old, searching for a better life. But tragedy struck when an accident took his parents from him, leaving him an orphan in a country still grappling with accepting those who looked different. Though Adam faced his share of racism, he also encountered moments of genuine kindness. His life had been a mixture of hardships and fleeting joys, but he had always believed that knowledge was the key to everything. Unfortunately, he wasn't gifted with a sharp memory or high intelligence. He was just average. Back at his small apartment, Adam sat in the dimly lit living room, sipping a glass of water. He didn't drink alcohol. It wasn't his thing. The silence was deafening, amplifying the sinking feeling in his chest. When he retreated to his bedroom, the weight of the day finally broke him. Tears slid down his face as he buried his head in his hands. He'd lied to Ollie. He cared deeply about his job. Losing it meant losing his only source of income, the only thing keeping him afloat. "What can I even do?" he muttered bitterly to himself. The people who framed him owned the company. They had all the power, and he had none. After what felt like hours, he finally lay down on his bed, scrolling absently through his phone for a good novel to distract himself. But exhaustion soon claimed him, and the screen slipped from his fingers as his eyes closed. I woke to a blinding white expanse stretching endlessly in every direction. My head felt heavy, my thoughts muddled, and my body oddly light. This wasn't my room. There was no bed, no walls, nothing to ground me. Before I could process the situation, I noticed them, an endless line of translucent people moving in synchronized, measured steps. They were silent, their expressions vacant, their forms shimmering faintly as they trudged forward. Something about them drew me in, and before I realized it, I was moving to, following the person directly in front of me. As I walked, I looked around. The void wasn't empty after all. Golden silhouettes zipped through the air, paperwork in hand, their glowing forms busy and purposeful. In the distance, there were rows of desks, each manned by a golden figure. Long lines of translucent people stretched toward each station, inching forward at the same steady pace. Time blurred. I had no sense of how long I'd been walking, but eventually I found myself in front of one of the desks. Seated, there was a golden being, smaller than I expected, almost childlike, though its features were indistinct, shimmering like liquid gold. It was muttering to itself, signing papers with a quill that seemed to glow as it moved. "This is absurd," the figure grumbled, slamming its hands on the desk. "Placebo pills. I only took 2, and now my father sends me to deal with this boring nonsense." I stood there silent, not because I didn't want to speak, but because I physically couldn't. The golden being finally looked up, its gaze piercing and annoyed. "Name." The word struck something deep within me, and before I could think, I heard my voice answer automatically. "Adam Sr." The being nodded, and with a wave of its hand, a piece of paper materialized in front of it. Symbols and lines appeared on the sheet, and though I couldn't read them, I knew instinctively what it was, the story of my life. The golden figure scanned the paper quickly, its expression bored. Its eyes snapped back to me. "You're aware of your circumstances?" I nodded. Somehow, I understood that this was a question I was meant to answer, even though I had no idea what circumstances it was referring to. Karma's normal," the figure muttered, leaning back in its chair. "Nothing exceptional. You can either go to heaven or reincarnate back into your original world without memories. Your choice." I didn't hesitate. Heaven. If this was real, and it certainly felt real, I wasn't about to gamble with another life of suffering. The golden being shrugged. "Figures. All right, one moment." It pulled out a small box from beneath the desk, opening it to reveal dozens of glowing orbs in various colors. The being rifled through them, its movements becoming increasingly erratic. "Damn, which one was which?" it muttered under its breath, its golden form dimming slightly as though embarrassed. I felt a bead of sweat roll down my neck as the being side-eyed me, with its expression unreadable. Then it straightened, coughed theatrically, and said, "Today's a special occasion. You'll pick the orb yourself." I stared at it, my suspicion growing. This is pure bullshit, I thought, but I could see no way out of this situation. Resigned, I stepped closer to the box. The orbs pulsed softly, their glow hypnotic. My hand moved on its own, drawn to a light blue orb that seemed to hum with an inviting warmth. But I also saw a gray orb calling me, so I just picked both as a revenge. For the first time in my existence, I decided to fight back. The moment I touched them, the orbs merged into my chest, sending a jolt of energy coursing through me. "No!" The golden being's voice rang out, sharp and panicked. "Not again." A portal erupted into existence behind me, its swirling edges crackling with energy. I felt an irresistible force pulling me backward. "Wait, what's happening?" I tried to yell, but my voice was drowned out by the roar of the portal. "Fuck!" the being shouted, throwing its paperwork in frustration. "Father's going to send me to a lower world for this." Those were the last words I heard before the portal consumed me. Chapter 2. Reincarnation. I was thrown from the portal with violent force, crashing into something solid that rang out like a thunderclap on impact. Pain shot through my entire being, and I coughed uncontrollably, the taste of exhaustion filling my senses. I struggled to get my bearings, my body aching, when a gruff, deep voice rumbled from behind me. "Drink, or your soul vessel will break." I blinked, craning my neck to look upward. Standing above me was a short, muscular figure. His body seemed forged from iron itself, with dense muscles that rippled beneath his open-sleeved tunic. His chest and abdomen were visible, carved with raw strength. A wild, unkempt beard framed his face, his hair equally disheveled, and his eyes burned with a sharp, penetrating glow. He stepped forward, holding a flask in one massive, calloused hand. "Here," he said. "Hurry." I didn't have the strength to argue. My hands trembled as I took the flask, tilting it toward my lips. The liquid inside was thick and warm, tasting faintly of metal and herbs. As I drank, I felt a soothing energy wash over me, the pain easing, the cracks I hadn't even noticed in my translucent form knitting back together. What's happening?" I croaked, my voice weak. "Where am I? What's wrong with my body?" The man turned away from me, his heavy footsteps echoing as he approached a glowing forge at the far side of the room. He set down a pitch-black hammer on a rack and turned to face me again. I suppose you absorbed more than one orb, right? His tone was accusatory, but there was a flicker of pity in his gaze. I nodded, and his expression hardened as he shook his head. Foolish. Mortal souls can't handle more than one fate orb. Your soul vessel could have shattered completely. Soul vessel? I asked, the unfamiliar term tripping over my tongue. He pointed at me. That translucent body of yours, that's your soul vessel. It's the physical manifestation of your soul. Fragile, unstable, and now barely holding together thanks to your stupidity. I swallowed hard, the weight of his words sinking in. I didn't know. I just dash. Let me guess, he interrupted. The conceptuals assigned your case to some lazy, brainless entity. Typical. This mess is exactly what happens when they outsource the management of souls. He sighed heavily, clapping his hands. No time to waste. You've been sent here for a reason, so let's get this over with. What were the colors of the orbs you absorbed? Light blue and gray. I answered honestly. The man's brows furrowed, and he nodded slowly. The light blue is the random reincarnation orb. The gray one, that's the item selection orb. My mind raced at the implications. So, I get to choose an item? He snorted. Yes, but don't get your hopes up. Your karma's too average for anything overpowered. I frowned. What about a system? No. An Omnitrix? No. The 7 Dragon Balls? Absolutely not. I racked my brain, desperate for something useful. What about the Nano Machines? Like from Nano Machine? The man paused, his sharp gaze locking on mine. Yes. I blinked in disbelief. Wait, really? He nodded. Yes. But don't start grinning like an idiot just yet. You won't be getting the exact version. I'll forge something similar, better in some ways, but without their inherent flaws. I nodded quickly, still stunned. Can I customize my next life, then? No, he said bluntly, turning to the forge. Now, stay quiet while I work. He clapped his hands again, and the forge roared to life, flames leaping higher as intricate runes carved themselves into the stone around it. From the wall, he retrieved a set of tools that looked both archaic and futuristic, hammers, tongs, and chisels that shimmered with energy. The version I'm making will consist of 9 trillion nano machines, he explained, his voice steady as he worked. Each will be deployed throughout your body and soul, linked directly to your brain. They'll be undetectable, thanks to the materials I'll use. 9 trillion. I repeated, stunned. How many did the original have? 6,482,040,000, he answered without missing a beat. The contrast was staggering. I watched in awe as he began to craft the machines, his movements impossibly precise. He melted down rare metals and infused them with glowing crystals that floated into the forge on their own, guided by unseen forces. Sparks danced through the air as the tools struck the molten material, each impact resonating like a bell. I'm combining mystical elements with advanced technology, he explained, his voice calm but focused. This alloy is self-repairing and adaptive, designed to grow with you. The nano machines will integrate seamlessly into your being. He waved his hand, and a sphere of light appeared beside him, displaying a holographic blueprint of machines. Each component was detailed down to the atomic level, the design impossibly intricate. With this, he continued, you'll have enhanced regeneration, physical augmentation, and a network of nanobots capable of analyzing and adapting to most situations. But don't expect miracles. This isn't some deus ex machina. I nodded, unable to tear my eyes away from the process. The forge's flames turned a brilliant blue as he infused the metal with energy, chanting in a language I didn't recognize. The runes on the forge glowed brighter, pulsing in rhythm with his words. Finally, he held up the completed orb, a shimmering sphere of silver and blue. Here, he said, tossing it toward me. I caught it instinctively, feeling its weightless energy sink into my chest. My soul vessel shimmered briefly before stabilizing. The being stood back, wiping his hands on his tunic as the forge's flames died down. It's done, he said, his gruff voice softening slightly. Now it's time for you to reincarnate. I felt an odd sensation pulling at me, like the threads of my very existence were being unraveled. My translucent body began to shimmer, bits of it breaking away and fading into the air. Panic bubbled in my chest. "Wait, Dash," I started, my voice trembling. "Before I go, what's your name?" The being paused, a faint, knowing smile spreading across his rugged face. His eyes sparkled with an emotion I couldn't quite place as he leaned slightly closer. "I'm the Indecent Poundar," he said, his deep voice carrying an enigmatic weight. I tried to process the words, but as my form dissipated further, his voice became faint, muffled, and incomprehensible. The meaning of his words slipped away, lost in the haze of my fading consciousness. Darkness claimed me once again, the last thing I saw being the faint, mysterious smile of the being who had sent me on this strange, new path. Chapter 3. Hunters. I woke to the sound of silence, the kind that blankets everything, leaving only the faint hum of my own thoughts. My eyes fluttered open, the light overhead soft and diffused, not harsh like I'd expected. For a moment, I just lay there, trying to piece together what had happened. The last thing I remembered was the being, the forge, the Nano Machines. I sat up quickly, my heart pounding as I took in my surroundings. I was in a normal room, a very normal room. A simple bed with plain white sheets. A small wooden desk pushed up against the wall. Shelves stacked neatly with books. The faint smell of fresh linen hung in the air. "What the hell?" I muttered, swinging my legs off the bed. The floor beneath me was cold tile, sending a shiver up my spine. My bare feet patted softly as I stood, scanning the room for answers. There was a closet to the right, slightly ajar, revealing a handful of neatly folded clothes. A small kitchen nook sat at the far end, its appliances gleaming as if brand new. I walked over to the window, drawn by the faint murmur of activity outside. Pulling back the beige curtains, I found myself staring at the heart of a bustling city. The view was stunning. Tall buildings loomed over a crowded plaza below, where people moved about their business. Cars zipped down wide streets, and flashing digital billboards adorned the skyscrapers. One of the largest screens displayed a news broadcast in crisp, high resolution. My breath caught in my throat as I read the words flashing across the screen. The text was in Italian, a language I recognized instantly, having grown up around it. But that wasn't what stopped me in my tracks. It was the headline, Cacciatori combattono contro nuova bestia magica a Roma. Hunters battle new magic beast in Rome. "No way," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Hunters? Magic beasts? This wasn't real. It couldn't be. I stumbled back from the window, my mind racing. This wasn't the Italy I knew. I needed answers now. Frantically, I searched the room, my hands shaking as I yanked open drawers and rifled through shelves. Finally, on the desk, I spotted something familiar. A phone. My phone. Grabbing it, I tapped the screen, my breath hitching as it lit up. The interface was familiar, down to the apps and shortcuts. It was my phone, all right. But as I stared at the lock screen, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread settle in my chest. I wasn't dreaming. I was here, wherever here was. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. My heart was racing, and panic wouldn't help. I needed to think, to process what I had just seen. Hunters. The word echoed in my mind, and I couldn't shake the feeling of familiarity. It didn't take long for a name to surface, solo leveling. I'd read the manhwa years ago, binging chapters like a starving lion tearing through a feast. The rise of Sung Jin-woo, from a weak and near-useless hunter to an unstoppable shadow monarch aura farming left and right, had been mesmerizing. But while the story had left an impression, my memory wasn't exactly the best. I only remembered the general plot. Details? Not so much. Still, I knew enough. In this world, I had two options. 1. Live a normal life and hope to never encounter a dungeon break. 2. Become absolutely strong as hell and enjoy life to the fullest. The choice was obvious. A smile crept across my face, unbidden and uncontrollable, as I remembered the Nano Machines. With them, I had a chance. But first, I needed information. Sitting down at the desk, I unlocked my phone and opened the browser. My fingers trembled slightly as I typed in the search bar. Who are the strongest hunters? The search results appeared on the screen, and as my eyes landed on the names, a faint spark of recognition flickered in my mind. The answer was clear and concise. The strongest hunters in the world are the national-level hunters. These individuals stand at the pinnacle of humanity's power, capable of feats beyond the imagination of most hunters. The three most renowned are 1. Thomas Andre, 2. Liu Jigang, 3. Christopher Reed. I stared at the screen, my expression focused with my mind turning over the information. The names clicked. Thomas Andre, the Goliath, known for his overwhelming physical strength. Liu Jigang, the pride of China and a master swordman with his twin swords. Christopher Reed, whose fire-based abilities earned him the title Flame Sovereign. The fog in my memory cleared further as their titles and feats resurfaced, and with them, I am now certain where I am. I exhaled slowly, keeping my emotions in check. This world wasn't just a dangerous place. It was the kind of place where a single mistake could cost you everything. But it was also a place of incredible opportunity for someone with the right tools. I needed to know where I was in the timeline. Pulling up the search bar again, I typed in the name Kamish and pressed enter. The results loaded in seconds, and I scanned them carefully. Kamish, the greatest calamity humanity has faced, was slain by the combined efforts of the world's strongest hunters 5 years ago. 5 years ago. That meant I was 3 or 4 years before Sung Jinwoo's awakening. Before the plot of solo leveling truly began. I leaned back in the chair, closing the browser. The confirmation settled heavily in my mind. I wasn't in the middle of the chaos yet, but it was coming. Dungeon breaks, catastrophic events, and hunters fighting to survive, it was all on the horizon. Still, I wasn't panicking. I had time. Time to prepare, to adapt, and to make the most of what I'd been given. My gaze fell to my hands, the faint memory of the Nano Machines, making me feel a flicker of hope. Come on, I muttered, focusing harder. I know you're in there. Suddenly, a sharp jolt surged through my body, starting in my chest and radiating outward. It wasn't painful, but it was enough to make me gasp. A faint blue glow traced along my veins, and I froze as a calm, feminine voice echoed in my mind. Greeting, host. I blinked, startled. Who? I am the artificial intelligence interface of your nanomachine system. I exist to assist and serve you. The voice was smooth, almost soothing, yet utterly mechanical. Despite the strange situation, I felt an odd sense of relief. It was proof the nanomachines were functioning. You can talk, I said slowly, my lips curving into a cautious smile. Good. That makes things easier. Acknowledged host. I scratched my head, taking a moment to process. Right. I guess I should give you a name. Let's see. I paused, considering. Awa. Designation accepted. I'm now Awa. Great, I said, nodding. Now, what do you have in your memory database? Limited data detected. Awa's tone remained even. I possess only the fundamental functions of the nanomachine system and the memory data of this body's previous experiences. I frowned. That's it? Why don't you have all the information, like the nanomachines in the manhwa? Clarification. I am not identical to the nanomachines described in the referenced fictional material. My design incorporates unique enhancements and modifications tailored for this host. That made sense in a frustrating kind of way. All right, fair enough, I said, sighing. But you're fully operational, right? Correct. However, I lack autonomous consciousness. I am a tool designed solely for the host's use and guidance. I leaned back in the chair, exhaling slowly. Good to know. All right, Awa, let's start with something simple. Activate the memory database. Acknowledged host. Activating memory database now. The world around me seemed to blur as a rush of sensations and emotions flooded my mind. Memories, vivid and raw, played out before me like a reel of film unraveling in real time. Chapter 4, Portal. Adam's vision blurred as the memories began to take shape. Fragmented moments from this body's past surged into his consciousness, each one more hollow than the last. A small boy sat in a cold, dim orphanage, his eyes wide with fear as he watched other children play. No friends came to him. No comforting hand rested on his shoulder. The caretakers were overworked and indifferent, offering the bare minimum of kindness. Time skipped forward. The boy was now a teenager, walking alone down a crowded school hallway. No one greeted him. His high school diploma sat crumpled in his hands during graduation, the faint glimmer of pride overshadowed by the realization that no one cared. Then the body's adult years. Endless days spent at a desk, filing reports, answering emails, and enduring the occasional cruel remark from colleagues. His resignation to this monotonous existence was palpable, his expression always neutral, as though nothing could truly touch him. The final memory was from yesterday, leaving the office for the last time, clutching a small box of belongings. He didn't cry, didn't lash out, simply walked away into the night with the same empty gaze. As the memories settled, Adam leaned back in the chair, a slow grin spreading across his face. No friends, no family, no one to explain anything to, he said aloud. This is perfect. I could do whatever I want without anyone questioning me. Acknowledged. Awa's calm voice rang in his mind, grounding him. He frowned slightly. Awa, how are you even operating? Wouldn't you need energy or something? I am utilizing the unnamed energy flowing through the surroundings, host. Adam blinked. Unnamed energy? Do you mean mana? It was a brief pause. If you wish to designate it as such, I will comply. Yeah, let's call it mana. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. Are there other types of energy nearby? No other energy signatures are currently detectable in this environment. Adam nodded, filing the information away. He pushed himself up from the chair and stretched. All right, let's get down to business. Awa, what are your functions? The response came instantly. Functions of the Nano Machines, managed by Awa. 1. Self-healing. Automatically repairs injuries, from minor cuts to severe damage, based on severity. Neutralizes toxins in the body, preventing poisoning, illness, or hallucinations. Constantly maintains the body's optimal physical condition. 2. Scanning and analysis. Instantly scans and deciphers text, symbols, or images, converting them into understandable information. Analyzes facial expressions and vocal tones to gauge truthfulness and emotions. Observes and records techniques or movements, providing the host with detailed understanding and execution methods. Translates languages or unknown symbols using stored data. 3. Data integration and optimization. Converts scanned knowledge and skills into a format directly usable by the host. Optimizes the host's physical and neural pathways to perform new techniques effectively. Enhances learning speed and retention by adapting the host's brain functions. 4. Emergency defense mechanisms. Activates reflexive defenses to counter sudden threats or surprise attacks. Enhances senses, such as night vision or heightened hearing, for better situational awareness. Modulates the host's voice for disguise or mimicry. Dynamically adjusts physical attributes, such as muscle density and bone strength, for immediate combat needs. Simulates combat scenarios using internal augmented reality to train or refine skills. 5. Energy and body adaptation. Absorbs and utilizes external energy sources, such as mana, to power advanced functions. Stimulates physical growth and regeneration to enhance long-term capabilities. Employs sound-based techniques for covert communication or long-distance transmission. This system ensures continuous optimization and evolution based on the host's needs and circumstances. Adam whistled low, his mind already spinning with possibilities. Awa, your masterpiece. Acknowledged. Adam stayed silent as troubling thought crossed his mind, and he hesitated before speaking. Awa, did I kill the previous Adam by taking his body, or did I just regain his memories? Clarification. The host did not kill the previous Adam. You are the same individual. The Nano Machines have only integrated his memories into your conscious understanding. Relief washed over Adam. Good. I don't want to carry that kind of guilt. He stood and walked toward the bookshelf. His eyes scanned the spines until he pulled out a simple mathematics book. Opening it, he flipped through the pages at a rapid pace, skimming equations and concepts. Once he reached the end, he thought, "Awa, did you get all of that?" Affirmative. The information has been fully processed and stored. Her calm response made Adam pause, his brows furrowing. "You can hear me every time I think to you, right?" "Correct. However, I recommend you think your questions or commands to me rather than vocalizing them. It will be more efficient and discreet." Adam scratched his head, sheepishly grinning. "Right, that makes sense. I'll work on that." He set the book back on the shelf and looked around the room. "Awa, how far can you scan for mana?" "With the current mana density obtained from the surroundings, I can detect mana signatures within a 1-kilometer radius." The answer caught Adam's attention. He took a deep breath and asked cautiously, "Are there any gates or similar anomalies within that radius?" Affirmative. His chest tightened slightly. "Where is it?" "Directly below the host's current position." Adam froze, his gaze darting to the floor. "Wait, what? Why didn't you tell me this immediately?" "You did not ask, host." His jaw dropped, and frustration flared. "Awa, you can't just withhold critical information like that. From now on, you're to notify me about anything I need to know without waiting for me to ask, understand?" Acknowledged. "I will update my protocol to provide relevant information proactively." Adam sighed, rubbing his temples. "All right, good. Now tell me everything you know about this gate." "The mana is becoming increasingly erratic," Awa reported, her tone calm yet clinical. "Based on the host's memories, this phenomenon is referred to as a dungeon break." Adam's stomach dropped as he bolted toward the shelves, grabbing a bag and stuffing it with whatever essentials he could find. "Dungeon break? When will it happen?" "In approximately 1 day." He froze mid-motion, realization dawning on him. "Wait, that means the portal has been open for 6 days already." "Correct." Adam let out a frustrated sigh and resumed packing. "What rank is the dungeon?" he asked, grabbing a sturdy kitchen knife and examining it before tossing it into the bag. "Insufficient data to determine dungeon rank," Awa replied. Clicking his tongue, Adam headed to his wardrobe and dressed in comfortable clothes, ensuring he could move easily. His mind raced with possibilities, scenarios, and plans. He picked up the knife again, then hesitated. One knife won't cut it, literally. He gathered more kitchen knives, strapping them carefully with cloth to avoid injuring himself in the process. If they broke, or worse, if he lost one, he needed backups. Finally, he added more food, a flashlight, and a first aid kit to his bag. "All right, Awa, let's find this portal." "Understood." Displaying guidance now. An AR arrow materialized in his vision, hovering just in front of him and pointing toward the door. He followed it cautiously, descending the stairs of the apartment building. The quiet hum of fluorescent lights and the faint creaks of the old structure accompanied his steps. "The portal is located in the basement of the building," Awa informed him. As he reached the lower levels, the air grew colder, the concrete walls surrounding him feeling damp and lifeless. Adam couldn't remember the last time he'd gone to the basement, at least a month ago, maybe longer. It made sense that no one had found the portal if it was tucked away in a place people rarely visited. After searching the medium-sized storage area, his eyes finally caught a faint, eerie glow emanating from one of the darker corners. The blue light pulsed softly, casting shadows that flickered unnaturally against the walls. Adam stood frozen for a moment, staring at the portal. His heart pounded in his chest, but he clenched his fists and took a steadying breath. There it is. Chapter 5, Preparations. Adam stood in front of the portal, the faint blue glow reflecting in his eyes. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. "Let's do it," he whispered to himself, steeling his resolve. A sleek, black car bearing the Hunter Association insignia pulled up in front of the apartment complex. The vehicle's doors opened, and several men in dark suits stepped out, each carrying a strange, handheld device. The one in the lead, a tall, stern-faced man with short-cropped hair, adjusted his tie and looked at the building before walking toward it. Standing outside with his hands in his pockets, was a young man, his expression calm despite the circumstances. "Mr. Sun, right?" the leader asked, his sharp gaze fixed on Adam. Adam nodded, his voice steady. "Yes, it's me." The man's eyes narrowed slightly. "We receive a report about a possible portal in this area. You're the one who reported it." Adam nodded again, scratching the back of his neck. "Yeah, I found it while I was looking for some tools. Went down to the basement, and, well, there it was." The man raised an eyebrow, but said nothing, gesturing for Adam to lead the way. The group followed him inside, their footsteps echoing against the concrete floors as they descended into the basement. "You live here?" the leader asked, glancing at the damp, dim surroundings. "Yeah," Adam replied. "Been here for a while. Honestly, I hadn't gone down to the basement in weeks, but I needed something yesterday and figured I'd check." The man nodded, seemingly satisfied with the explanation, and motioned for his team to start scanning the area. As they approached the portal, the eerie blue light cast shadows across their faces. Adam pointed at it. "There it is." One of the men immediately stepped forward, setting up a scanning device near the portal. The machine emitted a soft hum, its display flickering as it analyzed the mana emanating from the rift. After a few tense moments, one of the men turned to the leader. "It's a D-rank dungeon, sir." The leader frowned slightly, his gaze shifting back to Adam. "You made the right call reporting this. If you'd gone in there, you wouldn't have come back out. You're just a regular civilian, after all." Adam forced a nervous chuckle, wiping his palms on his pants. "Yeah, I figured as much. Better safe than sorry, right? I'm not some overpowered protagonist with plot armor." Adam thought to himself, his heart racing. "I've got to play this smart if I want to survive in this world." The leader turned to his team, his voice sharp and commanding. "Evacuate the building and secure the area. Notify the Hunter Association immediately. We'll need a team to clear this dungeon before it breaks." The men snapped into action, their movements swift and professional as they began making calls and directing the residents upstairs. Adam watched them work, his mind racing. This was his first real encounter with the Hunter world, and it was a stark reminder of how dangerous this new reality could be. "I need to get stronger," he thought, his resolve hardening, "and I need to do it well." Adam was escorted to the Hunter Association building in Alessandria, a modest structure compared to the sprawling headquarters in larger cities. The car ride was quiet, though Adam's mind buzzed with questions and plans. Once inside, he was led through a series of halls until they reached an office marked Portal Discovery Testimonies. Inside, a man and a woman sat at a simple desk, their attention shifting to Adam as he entered. The man was in his mid-30s, lean and wiry, with a friendly smile. The woman was younger, her sharp gaze and muscular frame immediately giving off a more intimidating aura. "Have a seat, Mr. Senior," the woman said curtly, motioning to the chair across from them. Adam sat down, but as he did, he whispered in his mind, "Scan them. Are they hunters?" "Scanning," Awa responded. A moment later, her voice returned. "Both individuals are hunters. The male displays a mana density and muscle structure many times higher than the host. The female, however, is 13 times stronger." Adam's eyebrows twitched slightly. 13 times stronger, he thought, impressed. "Correct," Awa confirmed. "Her mana density is significantly higher, and her muscle composition suggests enhanced physical training and conditioning." The man extended his hand. "I'm Luca, a D-rank hunter. This is my colleague, Elisa. She's a C-rank hunter." Adam shook his hand and nodded politely. "Nice to meet you both." Elisa wasted no time. "We'll need your testimony on how you discovered the portal. Once you sign the papers, you'll receive your reward." The paperwork was straightforward, mostly detailing his discovery and a few liability disclaimers. Adam carefully maintained his story about looking for tools in the basement and finding the portal by accident. After signing the final document, Luca handed him an envelope. 3,000 euros, as promised. "Thank you for reporting to the portal promptly." "Thanks," Adam said, tucking the envelope into his bag. He stood, gave them a polite nod, and left the office. Adam headed straight for an electronics store in the city. With his newfound money, he purchased a simple laptop, prioritizing functionality over luxury. Once done, He visited the nearest library, scanning the shelves with purpose. Awa, record these titles. We're buying everything useful. Understood, she replied as he noted books on mathematics, physics, biology, history, and even children's educational material. He paid for the books in bulk, arranging for them to be delivered to his apartment the next morning. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, Adam's stomach growled in protest. He stopped at a pizza shop, ordering a large pizza topped with everything he loved. At home, he devoured the meal, the warm, cheesy comfort grounding him after the whirlwind day. As he finished the last slice, he leaned back and asked, Awa, how's the scanning been going? Extensive data has been collected. Awa replied. The host's instructions to scan animals, humans, mana signatures, and physical compositions throughout the day have yielded comprehensive results. And Adam prompted, most individuals in the city exhibit no mana signatures or enhancements beyond baseline human levels. However, exceptions were detected among the Hunters Association staff and other scattered individuals. Further analysis of fauna and flora revealed minimal interaction with mana, though anomalies may exist outside urban areas. Adam nodded, satisfied. Good. The more we learn now, the better prepared we'll be later. Agreed, host. Adam sat at the desk in his small apartment, the newly purchased laptop in front of him. He carefully unboxed it, setting aside the packaging and powering it on. The screen glowed to life, and he quickly connected it to his home Wi-Fi. The first thing he did was open a browser and begin searching for websites related to the hunter world. News outlets, forums, and even social media platforms offered a wealth of information. Adam bookmarked several key sites. HunterNet, a forum where hunters shared tips, dungeon experiences, and equipment reviews. Dungeon Daily, a news site dedicated to the latest dungeon activity and hunter rankings. Monathery.com, a blog focused on the science and speculation around mana and portals. He skimmed through articles about dungeon ranks, monster classifications, and combat techniques, taking mental notes as he read. Alice silently recorded everything, her presence a comforting reminder that he wasn't doing this alone. As the hours ticked by, fatigue began to weigh on him. Adam closed the laptop and leaned back in his chair, stretching. This is a good start, he thought. Data from today's research has been stored and categorized. Awa informed him. You may inject it at any time. Adam nodded. Thanks, Awa. Rising from his seat, he changed into more comfortable clothes and crawled into bed. The events of the day replayed in his mind, from discovering the portal to navigating the Hunter Association's protocols. He felt a flicker of satisfaction mixed with exhaustion. Tomorrow is going to be even busier, he thought as his eyes closed. But for the first time in a long while, he felt prepared. Sleep claimed him quickly, the faint hum of Awa's presence lulling him into a dreamless rest. Chapter 6, Knowledge Injection. Adam woke up feeling a faint buzz of energy, a lingering effect of the anticipation he'd carried to bed. He stretched, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, and got out of bed. After a quick wash, he dressed in casual clothes and headed outside, descending the stairs toward the basement to check on the portal. As he neared the area, he saw a few officers from the Hunter Association still lingering near the basement entrance. The glow of their equipment and their casual chatter signaled the situation was under control. Adam approached one of the officers, a stocky man leaning against a wall. Awa, scan him. Adam thought reflexively. No mana signature detected. Non-hunter personnel. Awa reported. Hey. Adam greeted aloud, stuffing his hands in his pockets. How are things going down there? The officer straightened and gave Adam a brief glance. The portal was closed about an hour ago. Everything's secure now. We're just packing up our gear and getting ready to head out. Adam nodded. Good to hear. Thanks for handling it so quickly. The officer shrugged. It's our job. Better safe than sorry, right? Adam offered a small smile and stepped away, satisfied the matter had been resolved. As he turned back toward the main entrance of the building, he spotted a delivery truck pulling up to the curb. A young man hopped out of the driver's seat and began unloading boxes stacked with books. Adam's eyes lit up. That must be the library delivery. He approached the deliver man and introduced himself. Hey, that's my order. I can help you carry those up. The deliver man looked relieved. Thanks, man. These boxes are heavy. Together, they began transporting the books up the stairs to Adam's apartment. By the time the last box was set down in the living room, Adam was sweating slightly, but feeling accomplished. He tipped the deliver man, who left with a grateful smile. Adam glanced at the towering stack of books and grinned. All right, Awa, let's get to work. Understood, Awa replied, her tone steady. Would you like me to prioritize specific subjects or scan everything at once? Adam stood over the mountain of books in his living room, his fingers brushing over the spines as he contemplated the task ahead. His curiosity burned brightly, but the sheer volume of knowledge made him pause. Awa, what would happen if I injected all of this information into my memory at once? The process would be extremely painful. Awa replied, her tone calm and factual. The human brain is not designed to process such a large influx of information in a short span of time. Adam frowned. But would it injure me? Could I die from it? No, Awa reassured. The nano machines will mitigate all harmful effects, ensuring that your brain adapts to the information without long-term damage. However, the pain will still be intense. Adam sighed, his determination outweighing his apprehension. All right, if it's safe, I can handle the pain. Let's do this. Understood, host. Begin scanning the materials when ready. Without hesitation, Adam grabbed the first book, flipping through its pages rapidly. Awa's internal systems captured every line of text and diagram, translating them into usable data within moments. The first stack of books focused on basic sciences. 1. Mathematics. Beginner to advanced. The children's books started with addition, subtraction, and simple geometry. As he progressed, the equations became more complex, diving into algebra, calculus, and linear programming. A detailed textbook on applied mathematics even included real-world examples of optimization problems. 2. Physics. The beginner-level books explained fundamental concepts like motion, force, and energy, while advanced ones delved into quantum mechanics and relativity. Diagrams illustrated the mechanics of wave-particle duality and the equations governing electromagnetism. 3. Biology. Starting with simple cell anatomy and basic ecosystems, the content grew more sophisticated, covering molecular biology, genetics, and human anatomy. A thick medical textbook included detailed diagrams of the cardiovascular and nervous systems, paired with clinical case studies. The second stack explored practical survival and combat skills. 1. Wilderness survival. A guide covered everything from building shelters and starting fires to identifying edible plants and navigating with the stars. Pages showed step-by-step images of tying knots, creating snares, and purifying water. 2. Martial arts. Several books on unarmed combat techniques included striking, grappling, and counters. Our recorded diagrams of precise stances and step-by-step instructions for executing effective throws and takedowns. 3. Weapons handling. Manuals focused on bladed weapons described their proper care and use. One book included detailed schematics of common swords and knives, highlighting their weak points and best maintenance practices. The third stack encompassed history, culture, and strategy. 1. World history. Text spanned eras from ancient civilizations to modern politics. Maps and timelines detailed key events, such as wars, revolutions, and the rise of global economies. 2. Cultural studies. Books explored various traditions, languages, and art forms from around the world, emphasizing their significance and evolution over time. 3. Military tactics. A treatise on historical battles broke down famous strategies, such as Hannibal's use of the double envelopment at Cannae and Napoleon's rapid maneuver warfare. Adam's hands moved methodically, flipping through page after page as Awa processed the material. The glow of the nano machines within him pulsed faintly, and beads of sweat formed on his brow as the influx of information strained his mind. Processing rate, 68%. Awa's voice cut through the haze. Pain levels increasing. Would you like to pause? Adam gritted his teeth, his vision momentarily blurring as a sharp ache throbbed in his temples. No, he said aloud. Keep going. I can take it. By the time he finished the last book, Adam collapsed onto the couch, breathing heavily. His head felt like it had been squeezed in a vice, but beneath the pain was a sense of accomplishment. Knowledge transfer complete. Awa announced. All information has been integrated into your memory. The Nano Machines are now optimizing neural pathways to enhance recall and application. Adam let out a weak laugh. That was insane. Your resilience is noted, host. Despite the pain, Adam couldn't help but grin. He had just absorbed a lifetime's worth of knowledge in a single day. He stretched with his chest rising and falling as he recovered. Honestly, he said aloud, his voice tinged with amusement, I expected it to hurt more. You know, like in those stories where characters pass out from the agony or scream their lungs out when they get overloaded with knowledge. That is because the Nano Machines did their work. Awa explained calmly. Without continuous healing of your brain's nerves and tissues, your brain would have liquefied from strain. Adam winced at the thought. Thanks for sparing me that. Additionally, I corrected or removed inaccuracies and redundant information from the material you scanned, decreasing the volume by approximately 30%. However, the overall gains increased by 500%. Adam's lips curved into a grateful smile. 500%. That's incredible. He took a deep breath, his mind already buzzing with possibilities. Thank you, Awa. I mean it. You're welcome, host. After a brief pause, Awa continued. Given the newly integrated knowledge, would you like to initiate the augmentation of your body's genetic structure? Adam straightened slightly, intrigued. What kind of changes are we talking about? The augmentation will push your physical attributes to the peak of human biology without the influence of mana. Practically, you will become the strongest, unawakened human possible. However, the true treasure will lie in your enhanced brain functions. Adam's eyebrows rose. Explain. Your intellectual and motor functions will reach unprecedented levels. You will become a prodigy in body control and cognitive ability, able to flawlessly execute every technique you absorbed from books. Your reflexes, strength, endurance, and precision will rival the highest levels of human capability. Adam grinned, his excitement barely contained. So, I'll basically be a superhuman without the mana? Hell yeah, let's do it. Understood, host. Beginning augmentation now. Before Adam could say another word, his body suddenly felt heavy, his limbs going limp as a wave of intense sleepiness hit him. His eyelids drooped, and he barely managed to mumble, "Guess I'll rest up for this." Within seconds, he was unconscious, his body completely still as the Nano Machines went to work, rewriting his genetic structure at the cellular level.